Welcome back to Switch to Linux. As you can see, we got a little bit of snow. I'm over my live stream, but my live stream froze. Bad puns, bad puns. All right, we're going to continue our outdoor philosophy series here today. And so what we're going to talk about is I'm going to pick two more rooms. Like I said, we're going to go through the rooms of the house until I go ahead and finish them. Today, the first room we're going to talk about is the bathroom. The bathroom is an interesting place because there accumulates a lot of interesting things that we really need to deal with. For one thing is medications just get piled up in there, and sometimes we just need to clean them out, figure out what to do with them. Let's actually just kind of start with my list as I walked into the bathroom and made a list of the things that you do. The first thing is you go into a bathroom, and usually bathrooms have vanities, and there's like 17 bajillion light bulbs plugged into those vanities, and they're all like sucking 40, 50 watts. And so you end up like walking in there, and every time you turn the switch on, the power company knows because they have to ramp up, put the nuclear rod in there a little bit further. The thing is that we don't actually need that much light in our bathrooms. And so what I actually do is my bathroom has 4 40-watt light bulbs in there. I actually unscrew 3 of the 4. I think one of my bathrooms I have unscrewed 2 of the 4. Another one I've unscrewed 3 of the 4. And so you just kind of keep your lights down. And what that's going to do is it's going to cut your power down like half to a fourth of the power consumption of the bathroom time, which obviously the light's not on there a whole lot, but every little bit will add up. Every little bit will add up. And so unscrew most of the light bulbs in that vanity, particularly if you don't need them. Obviously, there's times you might need more light to do some things or others, but for the most part, you really don't need that much light all the time. And so keeping those down, of course, other things go without saying is you could swap out the higher wattage light bulbs with the lower wattage light bulbs if you want to do that. Usually the bathrooms don't have those because it's more stylistic to have the open light bulbs that are all clear and cool looking. That's actually a trendy thing, particularly in the apartments around the town where I'm at. So that's one of those things to keep in mind, is that if you don't really care, I'm going to screw that bad boy and put a 5-watt light bulb in there that pushes out more light. But unscrewing a lot of those extra light bulbs can go a lot to saving a lot of power. You want to look at look in your medicine cabinet. If you have a lot of medications, old prescriptions, any of that kind of stuff, get rid of them. Not only is it a problem and a hassle, like what if your kids get into them? Understand that one of the biggest problems facing America today is prescription drug addiction. And some people just go through and just take whatever they can take just because it's a pill. And it's really bad. I think we have way too much emphasis on pharmaceuticals in our culture. But regardless, if you're not on the medication anymore and you still have some left, take them back to your doctor, or the other place you can actually take them is police stations. Police stations will have a drug collection place, so you can take them to a local police station, you can take them to a hospital. You could, in theory, flush them down the toilet, but it's probably better if you don't. Probably better if you take them to an actual recycling place. Just get them out of the house. One book I said that I like, The 100 Ways to Simplify Your Life, just says get rid of everything except the aspirin. And in reality, I kind of buy with that. I don't use Tylenol, I don't use Advil, I don't use any of those things. I'd rather just deal with something. If I get sick and I have to, and I think it's been 4 or 5 years since I've been sick. I just don't get sick. A lot of it's just eating right. But if you have, get a little bit sick or something, I just do a little bit of Dayquil in the event that ever happens. But for me, I don't keep any other medications around. I don't keep pain pills around. I don't keep Advil. I don't keep Tylenol. I don't keep any of that kind of stuff around. Just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. So you want to keep the old, keep the knickknacks low. That's the other thing on my list. Bathrooms are a place where we all collect things, usually like the seashell theme. You got seashells all over the place, and, seashell this, seashell that, and everything. Decor's done in seashell. It's like, you can get rid of a lot of those knickknacks. All the knickknacks do is increase the time it takes to clean something and clutter up the place a little bit. And so you can get rid of some of those. I'm not saying, dump everything out, but question why you have the various knickknacks that you have and see if you can get rid of any of those items. Let's see. I guess other things is keep your energy to a minimum. If you have electric razors, curling irons, things like that, don't keep them plugged in. Just leave those things unplugged. You plug them in only when you need them. I know I actually use an electric razor most of the week simply because it cuts back on waste of the plastic razors, and actually cuts back on cost, being as that I got my electric razor like dirt cheap. I found it at a good deal, got it dirt cheap, and so I have to charge it every other week. And so I'm no longer throwing away all those extra razors. and the things, it doesn't stay plugged in at all. It's just I plug it in, for a couple hours when it needs charge, and that's about it. So keeping those things unplugged. Go through like your first aid kits. Get rid of old stuff that's no longer needed, falling apart. Keep the kit down to kind of like the minimums that you need running, and just don't have so much excess stuff laying around. Bathrooms just have a way of collecting extra junk. Obviously, you might, you store your soap there. You store, the extra soap that you have, the extra toothbrushes, extra toothpaste. I looked at one point in time, I had like 15, 20 different things of toothpaste. I start giving it out to people like, here, have some toothpaste. Like, so much of it. But that's just, look through your things and see, do you have too much stuff, too much clutter in the bathroom? And, are you keeping your energy to a minimum? Of course, if you are trying to be an environmentally conservative person, another thing you can do, and it's not exactly simplification or minimalization, but you can literally put a brick or a jar full of water in the toilet tank and reduce the amount of water per flush that you use. Particularly useful if you're in a place like, I know a lot of places in California will have restrictions on water usage. So things like that will actually help reduce the water per flush. And usually it's not a real big deal to do that. So those are some of those things that you can do to help minimize the bathroom a little bit. The next area we're going to look at is the study. If you happen to have a study, or your study might double for your kitchen table. And I remember I had some neighbors way back when I lived in Edinburgh. Excuse me. Back when I lived in Edinburgh, had some neighbors, and you'd go into their house, they just have stuff piled everywhere. I'm just like, I couldn't live like that, In fact, I think that's what my mother's husband at the time said. I could not live like that, And you get all piles and piles of things, and that's one of those things that happens. One of the reasons I recommend cutting back all the furniture is if you have extra tables, extra stands, extra shelves, extra stuff laying around, things get more cluttered before you get the motivation to clean. And that's why if you get rid of those things, things stay less cluttered and you clean things up much quicker. And so those are some of those things. So the first is in your study, and I'm just going to take the study, maybe a library, maybe it's a place you do your bills, or whatever else. If you don't have a home office, I'll cover home offices another time. But as your study, see what books you can get rid of. So books will have a couple things. You'll have reference books, you'll have your favorite books, you'll have just generic books, you'll have books that you've read, books that you want to read. There's a variety of different books that you'll find. So what I did, and me getting rid of books is hard. I'm a nerd. I love books. I read textbooks for fun. I have reference books around. I mean, I got a lot of books. I love my books. But for me, getting rid of the books was one of the hardest things. And so what I decided to do is cut it down like this. If I've read it and it was a good book but not super significant, I'm just going to get rid of it. If it was on my to-read list, I actually went through my to-read pile, which right now consists of about 50 or so books. So I looked through that and I said, are there anything here that really don't interest me? And I found a few. And so I got rid of them. And then I came down to, if it wasn't a favorite book, I want to get rid of it. If it was an excess book, I want to get rid of it. And if it's an older book and I could get a DRM-free copy of an ebook, I got rid of it. Because if I've already read it, I'm just keeping it around for reference. And if I'm just keeping it around for reference, an ebook is a better option anyway, because I can look up the parts I'm looking for. And it's a whole lot quicker. Now, I don't like doing my major reading on an e-reader. I'm not totally opposed to it. I'm just not a huge fan of it. And so in that regard, I want to make sure that I have that ability to keep looking things up, but I don't want to have things. Now you can, and some people do get rid of all their books and go exclusively with an ebook library. They'll use a Kindle or things like that. I'm split on that. The thing is that I want to avoid DRM copies of books because I don't want to be tied to the Amazon platform or to the, iBook platform or to the Google Book platform. I don't want to be tied to any platform. So any book that I get, I want to be DRM free. And that's one of those things that you want to look for. In fact, I release my books DRM free so that people are not locked into one individual reader over another. And so get rid of the books. So how do you get rid of them? Well, some cases you can sell books. You might have a place where you can go sell books on an annual basis. You can donate books to Goodwill or to other places that would sell the books. You could just trash the books. In my town here, I actually have community libraries. So these are just things set up. And in this town, they're set up, I think, by the Lions Club. And basically, it's in several of the parks around town. It's just a little thing at the edge of the park. And you just go in there and set books in there. And people could go in there, look through there. If there's something fascinating, you open the thing up, you pull the book out, you take it home with you, and you read it. And then you hopefully go put it back. So that's what I did, is I distributed about 60 or 70 books and about 500 sermons throughout the various book libraries in my town. And so that's one of the things that I did, get rid of all of those extra things. So I either sold them, I got rid of them, I donated them, or in some cases, it's useless, just trash it. I do want to look for those ebooks on DRM free copies. Now, if you don't care as much, sure, build up your library on Kindle. For the most part, it's fairly safe. But that's kind of the way. So condense the books down to remove bookshelves. This goes back to that thing. If you have more furniture, stuff piles on top of it more and it gets messier and more cluttered. And then that can start to wear you down a little bit. And so remove the extra furnishings, remove the extra bookshelves. Just keep the basics that you need. You need a nightstand or a reading table. In my case, I don't have like a study room, but I have a study nook. I have 3 bookshelves in my study nook, and I have one glass table that's separate from the main kitchen table. This is a place for me to go and study and have the books closer by. And I have a nice plant in there, and I have a nice glass table with 2 little chairs. It's one of the higher glass tables. It's a really nice little study area, but I keep it down to just the 3 bookshelves, and I've condensed a lot. I've gotten rid of a lot of things. And so that's kind of what I do, is just get rid of all the extra things. If you happen to be using that office for note taking, things like that, get rid of some of the old sticky notes, all the old messages. In my case, like I go through a lot of little paper, just writing notes and things, keeping a written log of some of the things that I'm doing. So one of the things that I've chosen to do in that respect is, I have actually went with, I kind of prefer the sticky notes, but it just turned out that like 15, 20 years ago, I bought a series of little white paper tablets, and I still have them laying around. So I said, you know what? I'm not buying any more sticky notes or any more anything until these things are gone. And so that's what I'm doing now, is just use up the stuff that you have, even if it's not the most preferred. And that way, once it's gone, you don't have to throw away, perfectly good writing paper, although it's not necessarily your preference. Just use it, be done with it, and then just go back and just buy just the amounts that you need. Keep things organized, get rid of the old sticky notes, look at the messages you have. What can you get rid of? Can you condense any of those longer term notes onto like a digital reminder file, things like that. So just kind of do those types of things to simplify your study area. So those are my tips on the bathroom and the study area. So thank you for watching this Outdoor Philosophy. If you would like to help support what we're doing, check out switchtolinux.com/support. I am on Patreon, patreon.com/TomM, and I'm so pleased that Patreon decided to not screw over all of our patrons by charging them more. I gladly eat the fee for that, but you can go ahead and check me out over there on Patreon. So thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.